you roll up to a feature and you look at that feature and you think, yeah, right. No, it's not going to happen. And then you roll up to that feature later on in the season and you think, maybe that might happen. So then you roll up to it again and again and again. And then you go and then you say to yourself, no, not feeling it today. And then you go out, tomorrow and you roll up to it and I don't know, and you roll up again. Well, I'll roll up one more time and see how I feel. No, I'm not feeling it today. And then you wait for a week, right? And then you say to yourself, on the drive there, you say to yourself, okay, today's the day I'm going to hit that feature. I'm going to put it out of my mind. I'm going to hit it. There's no reason why I can't hit this feature. It is not out of my wheelhouse. It's right bang on, right in my skill set, right where I need to be. I'm going to hit this feature today. You roll up to the feature and you're like, I don't think so, whatever. And then it's like, why can't I hit this feature? It's driving me crazy. It's all I think about night and day. I can't sleep. I'm going crazy. Every time I look at my bike, I get mad. So there are definitely times, for me personally and Owen, there are times that has definitely happened. And I am sure you guys can resonate with that. I went up to this feature, and I'm going to show it here. And I was on my Trek Roscoe 6, and I was dead set, determined, I'm going to do this feature. And it's a roll. At the time this photo was taken, they had just built this feature. So this was part of the Canada Games Trail here in St. Catharines. And they rebuilt it from like an old sketchy thing. You could do this as a drop, or you could do this as a roll. And of course, I'm at the point where I was at that time, I'm not going to drop it, so I'm going to try and roll it. So I rolled up to this feature at least 30 times each time we went out. I drove Owen insane, and I drove myself crazy with frustration, because each and every time I rolled up to it, I would stop right at the point where you would start to go down. Like right at the last second that it was safe to stop, that's where I'd stop. My brain would not let me go down that stupid little wood roll thing. Now, it's not really that little. And at the time, it wasn't little. It was massive. It was big. It was the biggest wood roll ever, right? So we can look at these features and think, oh man, you come up to it, it's the first time you've seen it, or maybe it's the 100th time you've seen it in my case. And you are just deathly scared of it for really no reason that you that you can comprehend. There's just something sometimes that blocks, the brain just blocks it. You will not go down that feature today. The more and more I get experience with riding, the more and more I listen to that. And I won't ride up to things now more than 3 times. If I don't do it by the 3rd or 4th time, I'm not doing it that day. I just don't feel it. It's not worth it. It's not worth getting hurt. I'm going to be 48 this year, so it's not worth it for me to get hurt. And it's the wisdom you gain by experience, right? It goes with anything in life. So anyway, progression is just for us, it's the funnest part of the sport. We get to coax each other, and we're just so good at that. Owen and I have been riding together since we started riding. So we know each other's quirks. We know each other's strengths, we know each other's weaknesses, and I love it because we have this bond when we're riding that is just so amazing to me. He coaxes, like he'll do something, usually he will do something about 90% of the time before I'll do it. He'll have it under his belt before I do. He's just a natural rider and he just loves riding his bike. If he does something, you know, it's usually a feature that both of us want to do, like really badly. But it does take us a while to do it sometimes, right? He's much better than me at saying, no, I'm not doing it today, I don't feel it. He'll roll up to something and then if he sets his mind to do it, that's it. You know he's going to do it, and then he just sends it. Like the deck at Hydrocut. I have not done that feature yet, and it's driving me nuts. The deck. He's done it. Yeah. This is a couple seasons now. He's got it way under his belt. This is his third. And he does it so well. But the first time we were there, and we were both going to do it, he did it, and then I was about to do it, and then 3 people rolled up behind us, and neither of us like an audience. So we're like, no, you guys go first. So the first guy had a BMX background. He just sent it. The second guy, he rode it. And then the last guy that did it, he rolled it, which I didn't even know you could do because it looked too high to me to roll. But he rolled it and he did catch his chain ring on it. And I thought, oh my gosh, he's going to die. So I watched that and that was me done. I was not doing that feature that day. No way. I watched that guy barely escape with his life and I thought, no, not doing it today, no. So there's that factor that comes into it too. Have you ever been at a feature and I thought, okay, I'm doing it today, and then some dude rolls up and does it and barely makes it or doesn't make it, and you're like, okay, that's it, that's me done, you know. And next thing you know, you're down helping this guy out that's fallen or broken something. Oh man, it's just, yeah. So, the other thing too, I just got to tell you this one little story as well. There's a drop at Hydrocut. Hydrocut is a network of trails about an hour and a half from us. It's a phenomenal trail network. So anyway, there's a trail called Godzilla. And on that trail, there's a big drop. It's probably the biggest drop at Hydrocut, I think. We were like, okay, you know what? Let's do the Sweet Street drop. And it's a bigger drop. It's like 3.5, 4 feet with the landing. So we did this drop, and as you'll see up on the screen right now, we both did this drop. It was the biggest drop we've ever done in our lives at that point. And so we thought, okay, well, this will prime us for the Godzilla drop. So then we ride over to the Godzilla drop. And we're like, oh, that looks bigger than we thought or remember. So we roll up to it. And of course we stop, we stand at it, we look at it for way too much time. You can't think too much about these things sometimes, right? So this guy came up and he gets off his bike and he walks to the end of the drop and he looks down and he says, I can't think too much about these things, just send it. And he goes back and he's like in first gear, right? So he's pedaling like this and moving like that, right? And I'm like, in my mind I'm thinking, you gotta go faster. So he goes off the drop like this. And there's no way he had nowhere even close to enough speed, and he goes off like this and he just does a barrel roll right over the bars, and I'm just like, oh man, okay, that's it, that's Owen and I done, forget it, I'm out of here. We have yet to this day to do that drop, maybe this year. So another thing about progression, let me just talk quickly about bike parks. Okay, this was our first time at a bike park in 2024. We went there because they were kind enough to give us a night and 2 days worth of lift passes. Oh, okay. Because they watched the channel and they thought, okay, this is a cool channel, father and son, let's give the family a night. So thank you again, Horseshoe Bike Park, for that opportunity. So anyway, if you want to progress fast, ride bike parks. we added a night onto our stay because the stoke was real. It was so high. We were so excited to do this. We added a night. So that night was a package deal. It came with another lift pass day. So we had 3 full days of riding at Horseshoe Bike Park. And let me tell you, our first day was like, okay, Owen, like, let's just do the greens, take our time, take it easy, and just ease into this. We've got 3 days that we don't have to go all out. We can just ease into this. This is our first time doing this, so let's just ease into it. So we started on a green trail called Light Roast, and in my opinion, that's a pretty top end green trail. And what I mean by that is like it's more like a low end blue. So anyway, we rode that trail, and then we rode it again, and then we rode it again, and then we started edging into the blues. And by the time we left there, by the time it was like our last run of the day on our 3rd day, we were like, oh man, we don't want to leave. We rode every trail at that bike park. We started on the greens on the first day. We were finishing on the double blacks. And we were having an absolute blast. But as far as progression is concerned, it was like a whole season's of progression in 3 days. It was crazy. We were dropping stuff. If we had like another 3 days there, I'm sure we would have been hitting every feature in the park. It was nuts how fast the progression happened at that park.
I didn't even mean to do it.
But that's what you get when you ride something that is purposely built, right? Just to work. Everything just worked at trail speed. You didn't have to think about it. Yeah, you had to think about some lines and some sketchy stuff, of course. But once you figure out those lines, it just works. It just works so well. So transferring that into our local trails, we ride this local trail all the time called Lomer Simpson. And every time we would start to ride it, I would have this feeling in my gut. This is not an easy trail to ride. So I would just always have this feeling in my gut, even though I rode the trail 1,000 times. After we got back and rode that trail after the bike park, that feeling in my gut just didn't even exist. We just rode it, and it's like, oh, okay. You know? Oh, man. So progression is one of those things in the sport where it's not mandatory. To have fun mountain biking, no, it's not mandatory, but it happens so naturally. Progression, it's just a natural thing where, you know, we started on our trails riding those less than ideal bikes for mountain biking, but you got to start somewhere, right? So we started on those trails with those bikes, and we were just riding like the green trails and just flat, and sometimes you get hilly and whatever, and there would be a route, and yeah, look at me, I did a route, you know. so there's that, and then okay, well now we're hooked, right? So then we started getting better bikes. I went from my Giant Revel 2 to a Roscoe 6. Then Owen went from his Nakamura to a Specialized Rip Rock. Then he went from his Rip Rock to a Kona Cinder Cone, which he named Kona Cinder Cone. And then I went from my Trek Roscoe 6 to my bike that I have today, which is a Kona ESD. And then very late last season, Owen got a new bike. He sold his Cinder Cone and got a Norco Torrent steel frame S2, which he got maybe 8 rides on it. So this year looks like it's going to shape up to be a great year. We're both on steel hardtails and with 150 millimeters of travel, 29ers, and we are really looking forward to this year. I personally, I can't speak for Owen, but I'm pretty sure I can. But for me personally, I hope that this is the best progression year yet. So share your stories down in the comments, because I love to hear about your progression stories. I love to hear how you started. I love to hear what bike you started on. I could talk bikes all day.